Hey, Crestwood, happy Wednesday to you. It is good to be with you all today, and it's my honor to bring you this devotional for this Wednesday, November 6th. I know the mood or the weather outside, the rain and gloom matches the mood of a lot of folks after last night's election. It has been a difficult and contentious election season leading up to last night. And I know for a lot of you, last night's results were disheartening, disappointing, certainly not what you were wanting or hoping for. And even if the results did go the way you wanted last night, there still is a sense of the division that's in our country. There's not a sense of consensus. We're not all rowing in the same direction. We're not all filled with hope and excitement. And that's a tough place to be on this Wednesday. It's tough to just sit in that, to be fearful, to be anxious, to not know what's coming next, to worry about what the future holds, and to worry about what that means for ourselves, for those that we love, for our communities, for our country. And so I want to tell you today about this concept of Hesed, H-E-S-E-D, Hesed. It's a Hebrew word used several times in the Hebrew scriptures to describe the quality of God. It's love, it's mercy, it's faithfulness, it's grace, it's all the qualities that make God, God. And so the Bible often talks about God's Hesed, often translated as loving kindness or steadfast love. And it talks about how God's Hesed is never failing. God's Hesed is always present. God's Hesed is something that is tangible, that we can feel even in our darkest moments. And so I want you to hold on to that concept of Hesed. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and you sit down at a table and you're preparing to eat a meal and you lean forward and put your elbows on the table and the table wobbles? You know what I'm talking about? It kind of wobbles back and forth and you lean on it and wobbles forward and you lean back and it wobbles back. And so you have to look for some coasters or some napkins or something to put under one of the legs of the table to try to steady it, to try to balance it out so it's not wobbling. Dr. Frank Thomas, who's a preaching professor at Christian Theological Seminary and led a conference I was at last week, said that right now our world feels wobbly. Right now there's an unsteadiness, there's an unevenness to this world. And especially after last night, for a lot of folks, the world feels incredibly unstable. It feels incredibly wobbly. And Dr. Thomas said to us that the way we steady the wobbly is we prop the world up with God's Hesed. We prop the world up with God's love. What brings stability to the instability of this world is the exercising of God's love. And then Dr. Thomas said this. He said in the Old Testament, Hesed was a principle. In the New Testament, Hesed is a person. Jesus Christ embodies God's love, God's mercy, God's grace, God's justice, God's equality. All the qualities that make God, God are embodied in the person of Jesus Christ, who we claim to follow. And so the way we bring steadiness to this very unsteady and unstable world is the practicing of Hesed, the living out of the love that we have been given by Jesus Christ and called to live out. Whether you're happy with the results of the election, whether you're unhappy, fearful, dissatisfied, worried, the answer is Christ's love. The way we live it out individually, the way we live it out in our interpersonal relationships, the way we live it out in our communities, the way we exercise it in our countries. We have work to do because we've lost the importance of God's love in this world. We've lost the Hesed that Christ has brought to us. So it's okay to feel what you're feeling today. Whatever that is, I encourage you to own it, to just be present with it, and to feel it in all the ways that you need to feel it. And then remember, Hesed, Christ came to show us God's love, and it's not just for us, it's for others, especially those who maybe are most fearful in these days. So Crestwood, I want to encourage you to be reminded of God's steadfast loving kindness for you. God's Hesed is new every morning. And every morning we are called to go and to live that Hesed for others. A light shines in the darkness, John reminds us, and the darkness cannot overcome it. God bless you, Crestwood.